is Karen. How are you? Thank you so much for being here with us today. This is Rochelle with Bliss Tea and Treats, and I have Karen here with me, and I'm going to have Karen introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Karen Banks.
And Karen, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Oh, well, retired, but I've always provided services to senior citizens. My background is I'm a director of in residential care for seniors with Alzheimer's and dementia in residential care.
How'd you get into that?
Well, when I was a child, my mom says I've always been gravitating towards seniors. And when I was 10, I would wander around in the community looking to help people. And I always gravitated toward seniors that were older.
Wow.
And from there, throughout my whole childhood, I just took care of people. And as I got older, I went into providing care for seniors, and I just continued in my high school years. And as an adult, I went into senior homes, taking care of seniors, and into nursing homes, and continued to gravitate into providing care for senior citizens. And as a caregiver, I almost went into nursing, but I went into administrative care continuously, and that's where I continue to provide care and directing care in caregiving.
So you just always knew that was your calling?
Well, good Lord says so. So yes,
wow.
That was my calling.
That is such a special gift. I believe that there's a special place in heaven for caretakers.
Yes. Every time I thought I was going to go into a different direction, no, I was told by many people that was my calling. And that's where I stayed. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. In my education as well. Yes. Absolutely.
And do you think that you gravitated to dementia and Alzheimer's for a particular reason?
You know, my spirit led me there, and I was told, and I know in my spirit that there was ways for me to communicate with people that always couldn't be able to help themselves communicate. And I had a way of communicating with people that always couldn't carry out their ways of communicating with others. And that I could always communicate with individuals that lost their ways of communicating directly, things that needed to be said in their communication. And I always knew how to make that transition in their words of communicating. And I just knew what to say, how to say it. I knew how to finish their sentences with them.
Wow.
Help them dress, help them shop. I didn't correct them in the ways that gravitate toward them. Help staff communicate with them. There wasn't, no matter what their profession was, I could help them learn to redirect them in their ways of learning, redirect them.
That is such a gift. My grandmother had Alzheimer's.
Did she?
She did for a very long time. Yeah. For most of my young adulthood, she had Alzheimer's. So most of my memories of her are with her with Alzheimer's. You know, so we've seen it kind of progress. And she was here with us in Oceanside. And then we took her back to Panama. She wanted to go home. She was very clear about that. She wanted to go home. So my dad took her back to Panama, and we had a caretaker there. And that was difficult because we were here and she was there. But it's a special journey, and it really does require. Give me 1 second. So yeah, it was a special journey, and it really requires a special person to take care.
You come into their world.
Yeah.
It's the touch of their hands, their language. They're not coming into your world. You're going into their world. Patience and time, no matter how long it takes, you're coming into their world, and just to be very patient, learning to read the body language. Whether it's cleaning at 5 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, pulling out that pot to cook at that, whatever time it is, you're going to cook. You're going to pull out that screwdriver. If they want to put a screwdriver in that table, you're going to put that screwdriver in at that time. And be patient. Rather, Dad wants to wash that car. And it just takes time. And maybe you don't have the energy. Well, you better pull that energy out. You don't want to agitate them. You don't want to overdose them on some stupid drug that the doctor said. It's not necessary. You can calm them with your voice, too. You know, you may not have that energy at that time, but just take the time and be patient, because you don't have to use all those cocktails to take them to that level. It doesn't need to be that. And you can train people to go into their world. You know, you can, you know.
So what, if somebody's listening to this, what would you say to them to train them to go into their world as they're caring for their family?
Just learning music is a calming process. Music is very calming. Sometimes reading to them, taking them on a walk. If they're not ready for that walk, just curtains, sometimes just taking them into a soft environment, opening up fresh air, just opening up the windows, the door, taking them for a walk, getting them to go for a walk is animals are very good for that too. Having an animal in the room. Music is another concept, is just taking them to a relaxation. Children too. Babies, lullaby, singing to them is another aspect for just taking them to a soft place, you know.
Because you're treating them like a child.
Sometimes,
like you would
yes.
a baby.
And sometimes be careful, too. That can also make them angry, too. But not always. Just a soft environment can take them to just a relaxation, you know. If you know about their background, that's very important. Talking to them about their children, that's really important. You can, if you know their background, that's very important to know where they come from. If they've got a living relative, know about their background. You know, if you're not their family member, know everything about them. That helps so much. If you're their relative, know about your background. Sometimes their own kids don't know where they come from. You'd be surprised how many kids don't know.
So you would ask them questions about their background? Or you would ask their family members about their background?
Exactly. Know their background. Know what they did for a living. No, and then ask them, what did grandma did? If you don't know, say, Mom, what would Mom do? What did Grandpa do? What did Grandma do? Just talk to them. You know, they're not always gone, you know?
Yeah.
And then if you don't know anything and they're not able to verbally communicate, just sing them a lullaby. You know, depends on what level you think they are. And if they're still with you, just say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that.
So it's interesting that you say that, because I spoke to Ms. Pearl earlier this year. And for those of you guys listening, Ms. Pearl is a friend of the family, mutual friend of the family, recently passed away, had dementia, and she was actually one of the first Black beauty shop owners in Oceanside.
Yes, she was.
My mom worked at her beauty shop many, many years ago when we were kids. So I called her to interview her for this program we were doing called Black Pioneers. And when I was interviewing her, she was pretty clear about where she came from and her history. And her daughter was there, and she was kind of chiming in. But she, it was clicking
right on
for
time,
her.
Wasn't it?
It was right on time. It was clicking for her. Like, she was able to share about, you know, when she opened the shop. And she was a little fuzzy when it came on, specific on dates. But she was very clear about what that experience was like. So I hear you on asking them about things. And sometimes I guess it clicks, and sometimes
it doesn't.
Maybe it doesn't. Yeah.
It just depends where they are, because every individual is different. We were just, a friend of mine, we were just talking yesterday how each individual is very different. There's a base, but each individual still is very different at the same time. That's why it's so important, even in training groups of people, remembering that and understanding that, because you have to have a love and passion for providing care for individuals, whether it's a loved one. If you cannot do this, it's okay. It's okay not to beat up on yourself as an individual. And for those that are doing it professionally, if you cannot do it, it's okay to walk away.
And get somebody who can.
Who can.
Yeah.
And it's so very important, those of us that are doing it professionally, we want those that make the rules and the laws to help provide financing for those that need help because of abuse and other needs that need to be provided because the growing population that need help.
Yeah.
There are
and
so
most
many
people
that need
can't
help.
afford
They
it.
cannot afford it. They cannot afford it. And we can prevent it if we get the finances to help those that cannot because of the growing population.
Yeah.
It is needed. It's very much needed.
Mm-hmm. It's something we have to talk about.
We have to.
We have to talk up. We have to address it because we have to take care of our seniors.
We must. We must.
Yeah.
We must.
And we have to be provided with the resources in order to do so.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So you recently lost your mom.
Yeah. One of my best friends. My best friend. My bestie.
So how did you support your mom during her journey?
That's where the professional hat comes off and the daughter hat comes on. And many years, as I shared with our families that we provided care for their loved ones, we always told them it's not any easier for those of us that are professionals when they start taking care of our parents. And it was a journey. I'm the oldest of 4, and I go, many times I would take a deep breath and go, whew, because not only am I taking care of my mom, I'm taking care of one of my best friends. And I was like, whoo, it was a whirlwind. And I've always been the one that made decisions because my dad took care of mommy, and dad says, you take good care of her. I know it's going to be a journey. And it was a journey. Mom never made decisions. And even though she was one of 7 and she was a country girl, wow, what can I say? She did very good. She was well taken care of. And she didn't like being told what to do. And she didn't have dementia. She had a lot of health issues. And toward the end, it did become a little challenging because she did start to get a little forgetful. And she was a spoiled brat at the same time. And everything and anything she needed, she got it. And she had a lot of friends. She had a large church family. And everybody loved her immensely. And she loved her garden. She loved her kids and she loved her grandkids. And she was very blessed to have a great-grandchild, had 2 great-grandkids. And she was very well known in the community. She wasn't one to be involved in a lot of social groups, but she was one of the last of the mothers in her church. Maybe 2. She was one of 2 left in her church family. So just very well cared for and very well loved, and just
she was lucky to have you.
I was very blessed to have had her, and very well missed in our family. And she was one of 7 in her family, and from Georgia, and only one that left. Her and my father were the only ones that actually left the compound.
Oh, wow.
And everybody's still there. And so we thought that when my father passed, she was going to go back home. But no, she wanted to stay where her kids were. And she did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let me see what this